17 in a row. 17 in a row. And I am just overwhelmed with excitement, and I can't even process my own thoughts. So if I say some crazy shit tonight, I apologize. I am joined by my friend and my guest, fellow NBA content creator, Super Mario Hoops. What's going on, man?
It's going pretty good. A lot of good stuff happening in the NBA, a lot of good games. And yeah, I mean, the Suns won, so that's always pretty good, at least over here on this channel until they play the Bulls on February 7th.
Which we'll probably be going live for that game.
Oh, we will.
The Phoenix Suns win 104-96 to win not their 15th, not their 16th, but their 17th game in a row. And this is just coming off a win over the pretty damn good Brooklyn Nets, I got to say. And you know what? I don't know about you, Super Mario, but I got to celebrate. I said if the Suns win, I would only drink one. Or sorry, if they win, I'd drink 2 beers. If they lost, I would only drink 1. So I'm drinking 2 tonight. Cheers to the Phoenix Suns 17-game win streak.
I already drank my water, so I got in like a little invisible.
Don't worry, kids. I got a water right here. I'll be okay. But you know what? I'm excited. I'm celebrating. I pregame before this game, and I'm excited, man. There's lots to talk about tonight. So I'll just get started. Just give me your quick takeaways from this game, like just any thoughts, post-game thoughts, and then we'll kind of dive a little deeper. We'll look at the numbers. And then later on in the show, if you guys are still watching, we're going to be taking questions from the chat. So make sure to leave your questions in the chat. And then we're going to be looking at the NBA standings. I kind of like doing the NBA standings watch, even though it's still really early in the season and all that. I like looking at other teams and talking about other teams. So Super Mario, like I said, just quick takeaways from this game tonight. Any thoughts, any takeaways? What do you think, man?
I mean, personally, from watching the game, I don't know about you, but it just seemed like an ugly game. And really on both sides. I mean, you had the Warriors, they were turning the ball over. I don't know if this is probably the most they've had in a game this year, but it was a lot more than they normally do. I think they were like 28th in most turnovers per game prior to tonight. So, I mean, it's probably going to go up a lot after tonight. And then also like the Suns, it just seemed like sometimes on defense, like they were, and I guess like credit to the Warriors for moving the ball so well, but it just seemed like sometimes the defense for the Suns was a little bit like lackadaisical as well.
Yeah, you read my mind. Yeah, you're right.
And I mean, of course, like they didn't have quite as many turnovers or fouls as the Warriors, but it some of their plays it seemed really forced. It seemed like kind of bad. But yeah, I guess like from a team standpoint, the biggest thing that and I mean like simply taking care of the ball more was the big difference in the game. But the big thing that even made it a game, I think, was the rebounding because the Suns got killed on the rebounds. I think they had like 4 or 5 guys, the Warriors did, that had like more than 6 in the game or something like that. And guys like Gary Payton the second and Otto Porter Jr., who, by the way, I can't stand Otto Porter Jr. because he never did this with my Chicago Bulls. Now, all of a sudden, you're not getting $27 million a year anymore, and you start playing like a beast. Just had to throw that out there. But what I'll say is that, yeah, I mean, it is a win is a win, and that was good. I think the Suns have definitely played better games, though.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, it is pretty impressive, though, to get the win, especially with Booker going down like halfway through.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I am a little biased towards my team, but that's obviously just because I cover them and I'm a huge fan and everything. But you know me as well. I will also call them out when they need to be called out. And certain players, Deandre Ayton, who was great tonight, but I'm just using him as an example. But you are right. It was not the prettiest game from the Phoenix Suns, but they still won. But I will say this. First off, you are 110% right about the rebounding. I'm glad you brought that up because it's funny. I guess one of the only criticisms with this Warriors team is that they lack size, yet they killed us on the rebounding battle. What? when we
Well,
have arguably one of the best center and backup center duos in the league in JaVale McGee and DeAndre Ayton? What? Explain that to me.
Do you remember that play in the game when it was Otto Porter took a three and missed, and then they gave it back out to him, and he shot another three and missed, and then like Chioza and I think like Gary Payton the second like both ran out, and then they fed it to Curry, and he was like wide open, and he made that one. But the point is, like, you can't be allowing that, especially when I believe Ayton was still in the game.
Yeah.
Cam Johnson might have been in the game. So, like, they had the size advantage over the Warriors. Like, this is a Warriors team that I know everyone talks about, like, you know, Klay Thompson's not back yet, and that's probably going to benefit them. But they also don't have James Wiseman back yet, and he's kind of like a true center for them. So that's probably only going to help their rebounding. And if you're struggling like this, getting out-rebounded by, what was it, 17 against, like, Gary Payton the second.
51 to 35.
And Bielitsa and Jordan Poole and stuff like that, like, that just can't happen. But, yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, we're focusing on the Suns right now, but, I mean, the Warriors, they had their own problems, and a lot of that was because of some of the defense, individual defense, I'll say, that the Phoenix Suns played, especially on Steph Curry.
Yeah, and, you know, we're going to talk about this. We'll dive into it. First off, thank you to everybody in the chat who is in here. Make sure to leave your questions down below. We will answer them later. We're gonna talk later. We'll answer your questions. We're gonna look at the NBA standings, but yeah, the turnovers for me is a big thing. And again, we'll dive into it. But this was and really, it's easier to pick on the Warriors for their turnovers in this game, but the Suns did it too. If I'm correct, at halftime, I think both teams had. It was a lot of turnovers. That's all I got. I don't have the number actually in front of me, but it was a lot of turnovers. Both teams ended the game. Let me see. Turnovers 23. The Warriors had 23. The Suns had 13. And here's the thing. I don't care if you are the 86 Celtics or the 96 Bulls or the 73-9 Warriors. If you turn the ball over 23 times, you're probably going to lose. That's how I look at it. And I could rant about that all day because I have criticized the Suns on multiple occasions when they even turn the ball over like 15 times or more. And tonight, you know, it was like 13 or whatever. But and I will say that in the Suns defense too, is that when the Suns turn the ball over less than 10 times, they usually win a lot of games. So that was my biggest thing. And you talked about how this game was ugly, and it was. But I do want to say this. And I talked about this in my 16 facts about the Phoenix Suns 16 game winning streak. The Suns, when they hold a team under 100 points, I think they've done that like 8 times this season, which now would be 9. So anytime, like, they win a lot of games when they hold teams under 100 points. So that's kind of my little rant right there.
And then also I saw, like, I mean, this is the first game this year the Warriors didn't get 100 points.
Yeah.
Because we all know they're first in defense right now, but I believe they're second in offensive rating too, behind only the Jazz. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive in itself. But yeah, like, I guess, and I touched on like the rebounding. It's not really just the fact that it's like rebounding, but more so offensive rebounding for the Warriors. Like, I'm looking at it here. The Warriors had 36 defensive rebounds. The Suns had 27. So it's like for every 4 the Warriors got, the Suns got 3. Offensive rebounds, Suns had 8, Warriors had 15. So that's almost double. That's almost like for every 2 you get, then the Warriors get 4. And we all know offensive rebounding results in more chances to score. I don't know what the second chance points were off the top of my head. I don't see it on here. But the point is, like, that's something that kept the Warriors, I think, in the game probably longer than it should have.
Yeah, it doesn't show second chance points, but you're right.
I'm sure I'm sure they probably ended up with more than the Suns. Based on that alone, I mean, I would be surprised if they didn't.
That reminds me too, actually, at halftime, Monty Williams said that the Suns, or the Warriors, excuse me, their offensive rebounds killed the Suns because at halftime they had 9 offensive rebounds and 13 second chance points. So you're right about that. Not to change subject or anything, but quick shout out to Ty Guy. He's a big Cavaliers fan. Young YouTuber. He's still under 1,000 subscribers. But he's a really cool guy. Shout out to him. Go check out his channel. And then shout out to my guy Cody, one of the biggest horror and movie fanatics. I've known this guy for years. He says, just dropping in to show love and my support to Sons Geek. I'm Hulk smashing the like button. So yes, we're over about 11 minutes now. So Hulk smash the like button, you guys. And also go check out my guy, my guest, my friend, Supermariohoops24, fellow NBA content creator. And once again, if you guys are just joining us, leave a question and I will do my best to get to it. And Super Mario, if you see any good questions or comments in the chat, please let me know, because there's obviously a lot going on here and I'm trying to focus on multiple things. But yeah, so basically second chance points, killed the Suns, and that just makes no sense to me that the Suns were the bigger team and they lost their rebounding. I can't get over that.
I mean, that's kind of all
basketball.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure part of it though, I don't know. I think maybe part of it is just the fact that like you're playing defense, and we know the Warriors, I believe they're first right now in 3-point shooting in the NBA. So naturally, you're going to get up on your guy more often. They did that a lot on Curry. They didn't really do it so well to start off on Jordan Poole, but in the second half, they started like getting more up on him as well. So that kind of brings your guys more out. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing like when you play a zone. Like a zone's an easier coverage.
I do want to talk about that later, actually.
A zone's usually an easier coverage like for the perimeter and like to get out there, but at the same time, it like hurts your rebounding. So, and they didn't really do that, but I just think the fact that like everyone is always watching someone around the perimeter, that like it kind of took a little toll on them.
Well, I'm looking at some numbers here, and they posted this earlier in the broadcast, but the Phoenix Suns are fourth in points per game, 112. Warriors are second, 114. The Warriors are first in assists per game, 29. The Suns are fourth at 26 per game. And just so many numbers. These teams were obviously even matched. This was a playoff environment. The Phoenix Suns crowd was packed, and this felt like a playoff game. Let's be real. And I did want to talk to you about the zone defense, because if I remember correctly, even last year, the Suns struggled with that. And this was kind of a roller coaster of a game for both teams, because I remember at one point the Warriors were on like a 10-point lead, it was like 48-38. And the Suns did a pretty good job of holding that lead, and they eventually came back. But I remember when the Warriors switched to the zone, that was when when the Warriors switched to the zone, that was when the Suns struggled. So I'm actually glad that you brought that up. I'm surprised we haven't talked about this yet. And again, we can talk about the zone defense and everything, and we'll keep breaking down the game. But Devin Booker leaves the game, I think in the second quarter, with a left hamstring injury. That was what the Suns posted and said that he will not return. But after halftime, he was on the bench and he was up and cheering for his team. I don't really know too much about hamstring injuries. Are you concerned with Devin Booker's injury? I mean, he looked okay to me. Like, I'm not saying he'll be back in the game, but like, I mean, any thoughts on that?
I think your next game is what, tomorrow against the Pistons?
It's either tomorrow or the next day against the Pistons, which, I mean, let's be real. Like, does he really need to play that game?
He's not playing that game. I'm going to tell you that right now. Doesn't matter how good.
I'm looking at the schedule right now.
I mean, he could have like freaking metal legs. It don't matter. He's not.
It's December 2nd, which is like a couple days from now.
Yeah. So he's not playing that game. But they do have to play the Warriors again.
Yeah, December 3rd. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's not like a severe injury, then I could very well see him playing in that game. I feel like he's going to want to come back and play that game because, I mean, let's be real. There's no reason that even with or without Devin Booker, the Suns should still be able to extend this win streak to a franchise high, to 18 against Detroit. So, when they play the Warriors, they're probably going to still want to keep going as far as they can. Now, they very well could get caught up in like a little bit of a
trap game.
Yeah, because they could be like, all right, we broke the win streak and stuff like that, and then just come out flat. I could see that happening. But I kind of wanted to talk about, like, I don't know if you thought this, but just and maybe part of it is James Jones, but also Monty Williams. It's just like I don't know how I felt about Monty Williams in this game particularly. I mean, we
Okay.
even saw like he came out on the court like too early. Like he said
Yeah.
he wasn't aware of the situation. Like you can't do that, especially like that close of a game. But what I thought is having guys out there like first of all, I don't know how your Suns fans are going to react to this, but I personally think Landry Shamet has got to go.
Whoa.
He's got to go.
Why do you say that?
Because he's one of the most inconsistent players in the NBA. He's always up and down, and we saw today. I know, like, yeah, okay, he hit the big shot at the very end. Tonight, he sucked again, and his defense is inconsistent as well. It's not like just his floor spacing ability, but also his defense. Some days he could look like, Pat Bev, pestering people, get a few steals off the bench.
Yeah, you're
Other
right.
games, he just gets bodied, and he just gets exposed. And I feel like tonight, it was like the best of a bad situation for both those things. So yeah, like you could keep him on the roster or whatever, but I feel like maybe James Jones needs to look at like someone else, especially if this is a serious thing with Devin Booker, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it's like someone's gonna have to fill that void. But I thought too, like, I mean, who was the one who said it in the chat? I forget who said it in the chat. It was Abraham Alorcorn, if I said that right, said, Cam Johnson stepped his game up. Yeah, I thought he should have played more, at the end of the game. I feel like he was out way too long. And when, like, Devin Booker goes out, I feel like it should have been him, Mikal, Jay, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul to close the game. So I was confused by that. So I don't know if they need to make, like, a move there, like, to get an additional guy, but that, and then also like Elfrid Payton. I don't think Elfrid Payton's the answer. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
I'm moving my camera a little bit back, that way I'm better off. But anyways,
but
you know what?
Those two in particular were, I mean, they're kind of, when the Suns got up 9 in the third.
Yeah,
they're kind of a big reason they got back in the game. I thought the Suns were going to pull away, but it's like, no, you put Landry Shamet in. He was in for like 10 straight minutes. And then Elfrid Payton was in too. And I think in that time he had like a turnover or something.
I was going to talk about that. I think the Suns were up 9, and then the Warriors ended the third with a 17-10 run. Landry Shamet, let me just start off with this. He started off the season rough. I mean, it was like we were kind of playing with 5 guys out there because Cam Johnson was bad and he was bad. And I do agree with you on inconsistencies. He hasn't been very consistent, but I feel like when he does show up, it really helps the Suns. And the guy's kind of, you mentioned this, he's sometimes like a Pat Beverly or a really pesky defender. He's had some surprise defensive moments out there, but the only thing is, first off, I don't think they're ever going to trade. Not yet. Not this season. I think it's way too early. It would just make no sense to sign him to what, a 3-4 year deal and then just trade him. But I get what you're saying. Maybe down the road, but I think Monty Williams really loves him. Apparently they had like a really big bond, and that's a big reason why they signed him. That obviously makes the not extending DeAndre Ayton, situation worse.
Well, you must trust him enough too, because he used his challenge on him tonight.
But and apparently what I read was Chris Paul was the one that was like, challenge that, and I don't think he shouldn't have challenged that. I don't think he should have challenged that. Is what I'm saying is, but yeah, that was a weird, and I don't know if that was the coaches or if it was Chris Paul. I don't know if Monty actually made that call, but I do agree with you. And then there was the whole stepping out on the court thing, which the Suns, they have a history of that, Mike D'Antoni and whatever, with all that. But lots of coaches have a history with that. But that's where again, I'll say, and Cam Johnson was great in this game, and he's been great as of late. But that's where at the start of the season, before this winning streak, I was like, Cam Johnson's got to be big. Landry Shamet's got to be big. So what do you think about that?
I mean, I just feel like, for one, Cam Johnson, I think he has more potential. I think he's already shown.
Yeah, he's a better defender.
Yeah, he's a better defender. He's got more size. He's more consistent. He's already shown more with this organization. I mean, I said it a few times on your streams like last playoffs, and I think you even said so too, like that Cam Johnson was like the most consistent shooter like throughout the playoffs, and Landry Shamet has not been. I think honestly, like the first half of his rookie season with Philadelphia, I was like, this guy is not bad. He could be a solid 3-and-D
Yeah.
player down the line. And then with the Clippers, I know he hit a big shot in their one comeback game with the Warriors and stuff, but outside of that, like that whole first season, then with them, because they were using him as like a starter and like closing games and stuff like that. I don't think he's that role. And then I think from that point on, it's kind of just been downhill for him. I mean, he was really bad with the Clippers in the bubble. I mean, like everyone wants to blame, the big names like Kawhi and Paul George. You don't look at how bad like Lou Williams or Landry Shamet was, because I remember how many shots that guy missed.
Right.
But yeah, I just think he's incredibly streaky, and I guess you can have him on the team, but I just don't know what his role is. I mean, look at what's happening with Kemba Walker right now, because
I did want to actually get your opinion on that later in the show, because
he went, he has his moments where he looks like garbage, and then he also has his moments where he looks like the Kemba Walker that was an all-star and stuff like that. But defensively, like he's a guy that'll probably gamble a little bit too much to a fault, and maybe he could have nights where he looks good defensively, and at the same time he gets exposed. Right. I just feel like that's a lot of what you see with Landry Shamet. Obviously, I wouldn't even say he's better than Kemba Walker, to be honest. I just think that it kind of depends on the fit for him. I feel like he's shown more. But the point is, like, I just don't know where those type of players fit in with this rotation.
Well, my first red flag with Landry Shamet, shout out to my guy Colin Helwig. He works for Valley of the Suns, but he also covers the Brooklyn Nets. I think their website's like Nothing But Net. He does a great job. He does a lot of great work over Valley of the Suns, and I had him on my channel. And then he brought this up. We weren't even going to talk about Landry Shamet, but he was like, yeah, Landry Shamet sometimes has like inconsistencies and puts up wild shots. And I remember when he said that, it kind of stood out. I was like, what? And then, that was kind of my red flag to Landry Shamet. But I do want to change course here for a minute. Devin Booker tweeted this out like 17 minutes ago, and I have to show it. As you were talking, I was pulling it up. Check this out. No loss November, says Devin Booker. That is a real tweet, and it's beautiful. I love it. And I'm sorry, I had to show that.
And I mean, they are a real team doing it. I still remember back in the day, like some of those fraud teams, 2015 Hawks. But no, I just had to.
Yeah, no, I had to pull that up. That it's a beautiful tweet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to somehow print that out, and I'm going to just put it up in this background right here because it's just so beautiful. But yeah, I don't know, man. The Suns I remember a long time ago, the Suns were in March and they lost every game. And here we are, it's November, and we've won every game in November. And I'm at a loss for words, and I mean that. I'm not trying to be dramatic for the live stream or anything. It's just 17 in a row. And I was telling my brother this before the live stream started. I was like, it's not every year that a team wins 17 games in a row. And we saw this in the 2006-2007 season, if I remember correctly. Suns did this twice. It was a 15-game winning streak, if I remember correctly. And then later they did a 17-game winning streak. That's insane. Like, it's just so good. I'm just at a loss for words, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up like the last time someone won more than that. I mean, the Bucks won 18 straight, I guess, in 2020.
They did?
I believe so. I
mean, everything seems like a blur from 2020, so they probably did. I don't
know. But I mean, like, yeah, there hasn't been like that many. I mean, if the Suns win 3 more in a row, then they're tied for the 5th longest streak ever.
Right.
So that's crazy. And if they win actually 1 more, then they tie my Chicago Bulls for the longest streak in their franchise history.
And you know what? Shout out to AJ who says, "Congrats on the win, bro. Y'all deserve to win a chip." As a Golden State Warriors fan, I hope y'all win it this year. At least y'all never won a chip, so y'all deserve it. You know what? I've actually seen a couple comments like that from Golden State. I had a couple of comments on my own channel. The people just saying, you know what? I'm rooting for you guys, and I'm a Warriors fan, blah, blah, blah. So shout out to the real Warriors fans who are even cheering for us. I appreciate that.
That's a W Warriors fan right
Yeah,
there.
you're a W Warriors fan, AJ, if you're still watching. And as long as you're not a Lakers fan, then I'm okay with that. We'll talk about the Lakers later because I got a rant about them. And shout out to Mark Jackson who says, "Thank you, Brandon, for all you do. I must go to bed for work in the AM. Enjoy your beers." Well, you know what? If you guys got to go to bed, I understand that. You know, we all have real lives, but you guys can watch the live stream later. But if you guys are watching right now, just Hulk smash the like button. Share this live stream. I would appreciate that. And yeah, what a win, man. Let me ask you this, because like I'm looking at my notes here and everything, and there's obviously lots to talk about, but I wanted to ask you about Mikal Bridges. Now, you know, statistically, he didn't have a great night, but the reason because of that was because he was doing everything he could to stop Steph Curry. Now, I'm not saying Steph Curry had a bad night 100% because of Mikal Bridges. But I mean, if Mikal Bridges doesn't get some defensive player of the year, you know, nods and mentions, like how else can he do it? So was there anything you saw in particular from Mikal Bridges tonight? Do you think that was a big reason he had, like, Steph Curry had a bad night? What were your thoughts on Mikal Bridges?
I mean, of course, it wasn't just him. I think, you know, guys like Chris Paul also helped out, did a solid job.
Jay Crowder.
Yeah, Jay Crowder as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, to put it simply, like, for the most part, like, he kind of had him in Mikal jail.
Yep.
So I thought it was pretty good. Now, I know you said, like, offensively, like, he wasn't that great, but it wasn't so much.
I don't care. I can forgive it. You know?
Yeah, it wasn't so much, though, he wasn't hitting shots. I was just kind of, like, looking at, like, the decisions that he was making. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it seemed like sometimes he was, like, forcing stuff, and, like, I think, like, on some of his shots, like, he tried, like, drawing I think that one, he tried, like, leaning into that guy at the end of the shot clock. I mean, I don't understand that really, but, yeah, I think, like, he was doing pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I know Curry's had a few games this year where he hasn't shot that well and where he's been, like, under 20, but this is probably the worst game that he's had so far this season.
Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm glad you brought that up. I think after the broadcast or after the game ended, they said it was the worst shooting night of his career when he shoots 20 shots. And again, I told you this before the live stream. I can forgive Steph Curry on a night like this. You know, it's a big game. And let's be real. I get it. He's Steph Curry. The guy throws it up and it goes in. But every player has a bad night. Even Michael Jordan did. But I think this was a team defensive effort. And I think that's one thing we haven't talked about yet in the stream is the Suns defense tonight was just absolutely incredible. So sorry to cut you off, but I just had to talk about that. And you know what? Mikal Bridges was incredible. I don't care if he only had 2 points. He only ended up with 1 foul, and he was great. So shout out to Mikal Bridges.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a crazy hater. I know people on Twitter already hate me for what I think about, you know, say about Curry and stuff. But honestly, I feel like he was kind of the reason they did lose because you saw like the other guys, like they were hustling on the rebounds. They were playing like
shout out to Jordan Poole. I do want to talk about him later.
And yeah, Jordan Poole was hitting his shots and stuff like that. Like they were the ones kind of keeping him in the game. And I just pulled up like Curry's like regular season, like his plus minus for every game this year. Like every game this year, he's in the positive except a win against the Hornets. He was a -1. And
didn't they lose that game too?
No, that was the first time they played him. The second time they did lose. And then the opening night against the Clippers, where he still played good, but he had a -2. Ooh. And then tonight he had like a -17. So
I'm the last guy to go to the plus minus because I hate that stat. But I said this to you earlier.
I just
Five
think
of their
like
starters had a negative tonight.
I just think when you look at it like that, like how much of a minus he was and how many shots he was taking away, because it's one thing to just shoot bad, but the way I think of it is like, okay, he shot 4 of 21. So that's 17 shots he missed. That's 17 shots that his team missed because they
Right.
missed out on a chance for maybe someone to take a layup or someone to take like a mid-range or a 3 or something. So, I mean, that's kind of like what I think. And it was kind of like the biggest reason that, they weren't able to get over the hump. If he was going off, I mean, who knows? And if Booker still goes down, I don't know if we're talking about the same outcome.
Shout out to EJ who says, you have no freaking idea how, I think he meant to say how bad I wanted this before this game. All NBA analysis shows Warriors to win. They are all trash, and the Suns for being lucky. Like WTF, 17 straight wins is lucky. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about the Stephen A. Smith shit. And I know Kenny Smith picked the Warriors, but he said by a hair, and I don't know. I don't care about the national media because they always hate on the Suns. Even before the bubble, they were always hating on the Suns. And you know what? Again, I will say this over and over and over again. It's not like every year a team wins 17 in a row. This is incredible. So I'm overwhelmed.
I saw who was it? StatMuse that put it up.
I love StatMuse. Those guys do such great work over there. Follow StatMuse. What stat did they pull up?
They said first of all, the Suns are the first overall seed in not just the West but the NBA. They are 12-1 versus teams above 500, which is better than any other team in the NBA. But sure, they haven't played anyone good. They put it in quotes. So yeah, I mean that kind of tells you all you want to know right now.
I'm glad you brought that up because, look, it's not like we're playing the Nets and Warriors every single night, et cetera, et cetera. But you know what? It's not like these games have been easy. Because, yeah, there's been some bad teams that we've played that the Suns struggled against. And you know the NBA like I do. You can lose to any team on even the garbage Detroit Pistons, who we play next, and the garbage Houston Rockets, even though they've won 3 straight. And Christian Wood is balling for them right now. You can lose to those teams. You can lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder and teams that I'm forgetting to mention. And
I mean, you guys lost that tough one to the Kings earlier in the year. So it's like
and you know what? That was actually our last loss, and that was actually after the Kings. After that, the Kings fell off after that. But yeah, my point being is that
they got the Lakers that won in the triple overtime, but everyone gets the Lakers at least once.
Don't get me started on the Lakers, man. I will go on a huge rant and tirade about how bad the Lakers have been this year. I did kind of want to get your opinion on the whole LeBron thing later on, but because he's out with health and safety protocols. I hope he's okay, but I did kind of want to get your opinion on that later. But I forgot my point. But my point is the Suns have won 17 in a row, and I'm gonna say it as a biased Suns fan. We are the best team in the NBA. You heard it right. We are better than the Nets. We are better than the Warriors. No offense, but we're better than your Chicago Bulls. I can't wait to play your Bulls, by the way. And you know what? This streak might come to an end soon, but you know what? 17 in a row. That can't go overlooked, man. This is great. I'm excited, man. Like I have nothing to complain. I got all these notes in front of me. I'm just like, there's nothing to complain about, man. Like life is good if you're a Suns fan.
I mean, I even told you I don't mind as long as you guys win every game before February 7th, and as long as you guys lose 8 more games this season so that you don't break the 72-10. If you do happen to win the championship, then my Bulls will still have the best record in championship. But I mean, right now, yeah, like they are the best team in the NBA. But in terms of I don't know if you saw when I made my standings prediction before the year, but I mean, I had the Suns as the first seed because I felt like that's what they were going to do. I feel like people were sleeping on them a little. They're like, oh, the Warriors are getting healthy. Oh, the Lakers, dude, the Lakers aren't even close. And they were sleeping on the Suns, sleeping on the Jazz. So I don't know. I think those teams are still going to be for real.
I do want to say this though, and this was actually a pregame note that I had. Monty Williams and both JaVale McGee said they don't really care about the Suns' winning streak. Their goal is just to keep winning games and keep getting better, whatever it looks like. Now, I've been a little critical of about their ugly wins, but this is how the mentality was last year. They were like, we don't care how many games we win. We just want to make the playoffs and be good in the playoffs and be consistent and learn from those wins and learn from those ugly losses. And when they both said that, I was like, that's the mentality they had last year, even before JaVale McGee was here. Like, and for JaVale McGee to say that, that's great, man. I feel like JaVale McGee kind of gets overlooked as a leader. That guy has been nothing but great for us, even if the numbers don't really seem like it. And like I said earlier in the stream, that guy has been one of the best backup centers in the league. And I guess my point being is that sure, the streak might come to an end soon. There might be a trap game in the future that we're going to lose. The Suns just might be off one night. But to tie the franchise record that we set in 2006, man, that feels like a billion years ago. Like, it's just so incredible, man. And you know what? I don't want to take anything away from the Lakers. Or excuse me, not the Lakers, the Warriors.
No, let's take everything.
Let's take everything. I'm gonna go on a tirade about them later. You know what, the Warriors, man, I read the stat earlier that before this game, they had won 10 games in a row at home by double digits, excuse me. And their point differential coming into this game was 13.7. That's insane. Like, obviously, they're a great team. And I do want to praise Jordan Poole, too. That guy was incredible. Let me look at the box score real quick, especially in the first half. He finished the night with 28 points, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is that a career high? I'm pretty sure that's a career high. He had 16 in the first half. He had 28 on the night.
Nah, he's had I checked actually before the game. He's had 3 30-point games this year already.
Oh, okay. That's
and
fair.
4 other 20-point games.
Wow.
But again, I see a lot of people that say the Warriors are a one-man show. Yeah, I think they're underrated. Like, supporting cast, you know.
And again, that's why I don't want to take anything away from them. And you know what? You know, Andrew Wiggins, he had a bad night tonight. And
he obviously had back problems too before the game. So
he obviously hasn't lived up to a number 1 overall pick. But that dude, I don't care what anybody says. I think he can play. I actually wouldn't mind him on the Suns. I'm gonna have a hot take right there. That dude plays hard. Obviously, Curry had a bad night. I know that you didn't really like him on your Bulls or whatever, but Otto Porter Jr., he had a pretty good night. 30 minutes, 16 points, 6 rebounds. But beyond that, I don't really know if they had too much help. What were your takeaways from the Warriors tonight? I feel like we haven't really talked about the Warriors tonight. Like, really, like as a team.
I mean, first I'm going to address like a comment.
Yeah, go for it.
David Ray said he was talking about the 2016 Warriors that went 73-9. I think he's referring to when I said like break my Bulls record for 72-10.
Yeah.
I was talking about also like winning the championship.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I count that 73-9 Warriors team because
it don't mean a thing without the ring. That's what I was.
Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman, that whole Bulls t-shirt.
But I mean, talk about the Warriors. I mean, the first thing offensively, Jordan Poole. I mean, he was insane from the jump. I mean,
we couldn't stop him.
I think he hit like he hit like back-to-back 3, or no, he hit like 3 threes and another mid-range 4 straight, like in the first going to the second
it was
quarter
13 first quarter points. He had 3 threes. They were on an 8-0 run. They did that within 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and then he hit another 3.
It felt like the most insane like back-to-back sequence I've seen this year, only behind – I don't know if you saw the Clippers-Pelicans game the other day when Valanciunas hit like 7 threes.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Trade him to the Warriors.
I was like, this dude can't miss.
Right.
But I thought Jordan Poole was like, oh, geez, he's going to have one of these nights. But yeah, and I mean, as a team, like they tried. I mean, they're always going to try. I mean, they're going to move the ball better.
They played good. Team. It's not like we blew them out or anything.
Well, and part of that is like their defense as well. You know, they only kept you guys to 104. There's a reason why they're the best defensive rated team in the NBA. Now I don't know if it's gonna like hold when they start playing a lot more tougher teams, like when they play you guys again and the Jazz.
And we play on Christmas, by the way.
Yeah. So like I don't know if that's gonna hold up, but I think it's pretty sure that they're gonna be pretty good. Like it's by the end of the season. But I don't know. I feel like there's not much else to say. I mean, guys like you said, Otto Porter had a fluke game. I'm gonna call it a fluke game. He never did it.
You don't like Otto Porter, do you?
I don't like that the guy was making $27 million a year to sit on our bench and do nothing. And it's not even like his injuries were all that. Like there were times he was like cleared and then he just like wouldn't play for like several games. I'm like, then why are we even have him on the team?
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, Wiggins, we kind of already touched on him. Like he had his like own thing. No wonder like he was not playing so well. Draymond, I thought Draymond had a few good moments, but I mean, he even had like 4 turnovers or 5 turnovers.
I don't feel like he lived up to that whole defensive player of the year so far, because he arguably is one of the defense player of the year candidates. I didn't really feel like he had much of an impact tonight.
Well, I think a big part of that too is that the Suns. See, I don't get this. I mean,
I like Draymond Green for what it's worth. I actually do.
I'm gonna go back to the Suns here to talk about Deandre Ayton, because it seems like for so many of these games, these teams that go small or don't play a center, like they go to him early on and he's just like feasting. I think he had like 4 of the first 5 baskets for the Suns or something.
I was going to talk about that. You were right.
He's done that multiple times this year, and then it's like they just stop going to him. Like
he had 6 in 6 minutes. He had 8 points, 3 offensive rebounds, 1 assist, and he was 4 to 5 to start. That was at the start of the game. So
I feel like they just stopped going to him, and I feel like they could use that to an advantage, because it's like, okay, if they start bringing 2 or 3 guys down, it's like, boom, you got Chris Paul, boom, you got Jay Crowder on the perimeter. At the time, you had Devin Booker early in the game, so like that's pretty good. I mean, that's how it helps you like get more 3-point shots. And I mean, the Warriors, they're gonna try to play the 3-point game as much as they can. They took 40 tonight, so I don't know. I think if you're able to like get those easy 3-point looks as opposed to them having to get tougher shots like Poole saw later in the game and Curry saw like all night, then you're probably going to win by a substantial margin.
Just so you guys know, we've been live for over 43 minutes. I am with my friend and guest Super Mario Hoops 24. We are breaking down the showdown, which was the Warriors and Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns winning their 17th straight game in a row. And I am glad that you brought up Deandre Ayton, because that was one topic that I feel like we didn't talk about. That's probably my fault. We got about 45 people in here, by the way, so I appreciate each and every single one of you. Just Hulk smash that like button, you guys. Please share the stream. Tell people about the Suns Geek channel. I would really appreciate it. But yes, I did want to talk about Deandre Ayton. As I mentioned, at the start of the game, 6 minutes, 8 points, 3 offensive rebounds, 1 assist, 4 from 5 from the field. But man, it was just really him being engaged in his activity. And I did want to talk about this later, the active hands of the Phoenix Suns, which caused so many of those Warriors turnovers. And it was Deandre Ayton had a lot to do with that. I remember there was one play where I think Bridges stole the ball. He missed. Ayton grabbed the rebound and found Chris Paul for a wide open 3. That was like Western Conference Finals Deandre Ayton. That was like the Deandre Ayton that we saw all throughout the playoffs. And you are right. When they stop going to him, sometimes he does get like disengaged, and that kind of can affect the Phoenix Suns. But he did finish the game 34 minutes, 11 for 19 from the field, 24 points and 11 rebounds. And I know that doesn't sound like the greatest stat line ever, but that's actually kind of good for Deandre Ayton. I mean, I do believe he can do that in his sleep, but the guy was just active, especially to start the game. And I tweeted that out earlier. I was like, Deandre Ayton has to be huge in this game, man, because obviously they don't have much size, but anytime Ayton has a big night, they win. And then I know this is just random, but we were kind of talking about Jordan Poole earlier. I swear to God that Jordan Poole has been working with Steph and Curry. Everything I saw from him tonight was like a 99-cent store, Steph and Curry. So That's my rant about Deandre Ayton. He was great tonight. I applaud Deandre Ayton. We needed him, and he showed up.
I feel like sometimes, like, and I hate to talk about the Lakers because we know how we both
don't
feel
worry.
about
We're
them.
gonna get to the Lakers. You can talk about the Lakers. That's okay.
I was just gonna say, I feel like sometimes like DeAndre Ayton gets in that Anthony Davis mindset where it's like if
Don't get
they
me
start
started.
if they stop giving him the ball like
Yep.
like down low so he can operate, then maybe sometimes he gets pulled away from the basket, at least to the mid-range spot. He's not probably going to be taking any threes unless it's the end of the quarter or something. But then he also starts becoming, I think, less aggressive. And you see that like with AD and the Lakers, like how he's, plays soft at times. Like a lot of Lakers fans have even called him out for it. And maybe like that's kind of more so the fault of like who's around him and how they're engaging him in the offense than just that person in itself. So I don't know.
I hope I'm not butchering this name, but Roland says Dubs fan here. Suns played better than the Warriors tonight. The biggest impact was the Suns defense versus the Warriors movement offense. Give credit to the Suns. Adjustments will be made. Yes, don't forget, guys, we play you in like a couple of days. So again, this is another Warriors fan that is like, hey, you guys won and you guys are good. And shout out to the Suns. So shout out to the Warriors fans out there that are real and they're not biased. And, big shout out to the Warriors fans who were Warriors fans before the 2015 season, if you know what I mean.
Back with Monte Ellis, at least,
Exactly. Yeah, man. I don't know. I do kind of want to look at the box score, but before we get to the box score and we talk about more players and stuff, I do want to open up the second beer because we're celebrating tonight. 17 wins in a row. I pregame before this. I'm like, you know what? I'm drinking 2 beers tonight.
I like that.
All right. But let's go ahead and look at some numbers here. Let me go down real quick. DeAndre Ayton, like I said, finished with 24 and 11 for 19 shooting. Chris Paul, somebody who I neglected to talk about, who I do want to talk about, 15, 11, and 6. 11 assists, by the way. That should not go overlooked. When Devin Booker went out, Chris Paul literally took over the game. And that's something that he did last year in the playoffs, last year in the finals. Obviously he had that shoulder injury and he was hurt throughout the playoffs and all that. But he keeps these guys composed. And Chris Paul scores when he needs to score. And that's what happened tonight. Sure, 15 points. But those 15 points were huge. Jay Crowder was pretty big, I think, maybe in the first half. I think he might have had a few threes. And then we talked about Jordan Poole, 28 points. And then looking at the final numbers overall, the Suns almost shot nearly 50%. Shout out to the Warriors. They shot 41% from the field, but the Suns shot 40% from 3. And that's an area where we've really been struggling is the 3, especially with our percentages. So for the Suns to shoot 40% from 3, that is huge. We didn't do too well in terms of free throw shooting. We already talked about the rebounding battle earlier in the stream. We got killed. But 28 assists for the Suns, and I think the Warriors had 25. So those are just kind of some numbers. I do want to talk about the Suns bench, though. I think the Suns bench, I lost my numbers there. But the Suns bench was pretty huge. I'll just look at the box score. Cam Johnson had 14 huge points off the bench. He also played really good defense, I thought. JaVale McGee, 8 points. Landry Shamet, 9 points. We kind of talked about Landry Shamet. And then Cameron Payne.
I don't know about Shamet. I'm still sus on that.
Cameron Payne, 6 points, 4 assists. Not too bad for Cameron Payne. So those are just mine. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of why I mentioned Cameron Payne, because even though it wasn't that many points, it was tough shots. And just for him being out there was big. So that's kind of my takeaways in terms of the numbers and statistics. Do you have any thoughts on any of that?
I mean, I don't know if I have much to add about the bench, but I'll say about Chris Paul is like, I was looking at there was another StatMuse thing that they
I love StatMuse. I'm telling you guys, go follow StatMuse right now. They are so good. Go on Twitter and follow StatMuse. Those guys are like legends.
Right before the tweet that I said earlier, it says Chris Paul in the clutch this season. He's shooting 63.6% from the field, 50% from three, just over 94% from the free throw line, with 12 assists and 2 turnovers, which is like a 6.0 ratio. And then this is kind of the interesting part, because I remember, I think I commented on one of your videos like a month ago, like early in the season when the Suns were struggling, and I said something like, I think Chris Paul's in like the bottom like 5% of players in plus minus right now. Or I think I'd say he was like last of point guards at that time. But the Suns in the clutch have outscored opponents by 46 points with Chris Paul on the court, and that is the best plus minus in the NBA.
And
So,
that's something that as my video, like as the season went on, as my videos went on, I mentioned that like we are arguably the best clutch team in the NBA and arguably the best fourth quarter team in the NBA. You are 100% right. And I sound like a cliche at this point, but it's Chris Paul, man. Like he scores when he needs to score and we win games. So you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Let me just look at some more numbers here. I don't know, man. Any final thoughts in terms of this Warriors Suns game? I mean, I don't really know. I mean, I could harp all day on the turnovers. We could talk about how literally every quarter the Warriors kept turning over the ball. And don't get me wrong, the Suns did it too. But if I'm correct, the Warriors had like 6 turnovers in the fourth quarter. Like it was a bad. They could not control the ball, man. Like, and I remember even in that Nets game, the Suns versus Nets, the Nets kept turning the ball over. And prior to the Suns Nets game, they had like 50 something turnovers coming into that game. So Warriors didn't take care of the ball tonight, and it showed.
Well, and the other thing is like it almost felt like a 1980s Denver Nuggets game or something like that, because both teams were taking a ton of shots, and that's why I'm not really looking at like the steals and the blocks and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. Like they even said, like they're 2 of the fastest playing teams in the NBA right now. So I mean, like it's kind of just like I guess that's kind of why it was a little surprising why no team really jumped out to a huge lead, bigger than what, like 10 or something. Because you think like playing like that, it's like, all right, it's probably going to be a blowout one way or another, like at this rate. And I actually thought the Suns were going to pull away in the third, but you know, Landry Shamet and Elfrid Payton.
And I noticed that Monty kind of went small tonight. And I've said this so many times, like Monty plays players off matchups. Like every time we versed Joel Embiid, when Dario Saric was healthy, he played Dario Saric because one, Dario knows Joel Embiid, and that's kind of a decent matchup. And just, you know, certain matchups like that. I think at one point, Cam Johnson was like our biggest player on the court. So he went small, and maybe he was trying to, you know, counter the Warriors zone defense or whatever, or their small ball lineup. But
I just feel like this
Elfrid Payton is probably the third string point guard for a reason. I don't know.
I mean, I just feel like right now, like the Suns, I mean, this is why I mentioned James Jones to a degree, because, you know, you even mentioned Saric, and you also got like Frank Kaminsky and stuff like that, who are not.
If we would have had Frank Kaminsky, no,
and but like, I mean, at least they're solid backup bigs, and you don't know how long Devin Booker is going to be out. Like it could be somewhat serious, you know, like who knows? So you're probably going to want to sign somebody who can probably like play a D Rose or like a Jordan Clarkson role maybe, and like initiate off the bench or something like that. I don't know. Like that's just kind of like what I think. I feel like they might need to do something, because they had a lot of depth, but eventually, like when more injuries happen, like you're gonna start losing that. And again, I'm just not liking the look of, you know, seeing Shamet down here and Peyton and Chandler Hutchison, another former Bull that can't stand. But yeah,
I am like, if you look at the roster, especially as of late, the Suns have been like playing 9 players, you know, and our bench. I don't want to say we're not a deep bench, because obviously we're a really good team and we have players that can step up, but I don't know if this bench is as deep as it is last year, you know, because you had guys like last year, like Langston Galloway, that could get you like 12 quick points like that. And you get guys like Etwan Moore like hit a buzzer beater game winner against the Spurs. Like, I don't know if we really have that this year. So that might be a concern down the road, but we're still far away from the trade deadline, and there's gonna be buyout season soon. We can maybe get a guy somehow, and we Dario Saric probably won't be back until maybe April or May, if that. So I don't know, man. But yeah, that's something I've kind of neglected to talk about in my videos is how deep really is the Suns bench, and
I mean, I don't
know.
know. I mean, it's kind of a problem with my Bulls too. Like, we don't really have like the deepest team in the league. I know we just got Kobe back, but and like Io, and I'm sure Pat Williams will either start or whatever. But it's not like we have a deep team either. So like, I mean, I know what this like kind of looks like. I just feel like the starters, like the people that started tonight for the Suns, Cam Johnson and JaVale McGee, like those are kind of the guys that I'd say are, rotation players for sure.
Yeah.
Even Cameron Payne to an extent, like sometimes he's kind of like up and down.
He was great in the playoffs though.
He was, and I just don't know if like, like it could very well be a one-hit wonder type of thing, like a Lynch sanity moment maybe, but yeah, like guys like Shamit and Peyton, these other guys like Abdel Nader. I forget. I think last stream, like, didn't someone like get like seriously outraged with Abdel Nader in the comments?
Yeah, I mean, he's out right now, I guess, with an injury, and so is Frank Kaminsky. But like, yeah, he's been bad.
Even with though Kaminsky and Darius Saric, like that adds to the front court. But even like Cam Johnson's kind of a front court player. I just feel like their guard depth isn't quite there. Cam Payne is too up and down. Landry Shamet is way too up and down. And Elfrid Payton, I mean, he's kind of, I don't know. I mean, you even said he's a third string point guard. Last year with the Knicks, he was horrible in the playoffs.
Because he was playing minutes earlier in the season that he just fell out of the rotation. I mean, I'm not saying he's not working hard in practice, but like he's out of the rotation.
He was getting torched so bad by Trae Young that like Tibbs had to say, "Sorry, Rose. I know you like to come off the bench."
Knicks fans hated him.
I mean, they all hated him. He was just not that great. So I don't know. I think maybe some type of move. Maybe it doesn't have to happen right now, obviously, because you won 17 straight. I wouldn't try to mess with that, but eventually, like all good things come to an end. So it's not like. I mean, I guess it would be great for you if you won 78 straight to close the season, but I just don't see that feasibly happening. So eventually you're going to probably want to make some move
I'm going to ask you a spontaneous question. I feel like I've kind of done that all stream, but since we're talking about it, I don't know if I've actually gotten your thoughts on this. I would have to go back and look at past live streams, but what do you think about Thaddeus Young? Because those trade rumors were like hot. Even Shams reported it. Shams of The Athletic was like, yeah, these trade rumors are real and the Suns are engaging. But as the offseason went on, the preseason happened, that trade rumors kind of died down. And Thaddeus Young, man, that guy has been in the league for a long time and has put up great numbers. And especially last year with his ball hand, he averaged like 4 assists last year. Probably would be a good fit on this team. I don't know what you would give up for him, but could you see a Thaddeus Young trade in the future? Maybe.
I mean, I could definitely see it for sure. I just don't know if that's what they need.
Like, is that the answer? Like, yeah. Like,
I just feel like it puts another like log jam, like another guy that's like a forward. I feel like they need someone who,
like another guard.
They need like a guy that's a more consistent backup guard. I think someone I think would be good. And I mean, he's a former Sun, Goran Dragic. I mean, he very well could help. He's not doing much with Toronto or even like DJ Augustine with the Rockets. Like he's a veteran, he had like that moment with the Magic. I remember his season.
He's been in the league a long time. I think people forget about that.
I remember his season with my Bulls. It was one of his best, like he had to fill that role, like no Rose almost all year. And he did a pretty good job. I think he could be the backup point guard if you need him to.
Shout out to the Thai guy once again, up and coming YouTuber. He talks about the Cavs. He does reaction videos, but all around just a cool guy. I've talked to him a lot. He's out of here. Go subscribe to his channel. And we are over an hour in the stream, and I'm with my friend and my guest, Supermariohoops24. Go check out his channel. I will link it in the description. I meant to do that earlier, but for those of you who are always in the stream, you know who this is. And shout out to everybody who's in the chat. Shout out to Amanda. I do want to get to Amanda's comment in a minute, but shout out to Roland. I hope I'm not butchering your name. And just everybody who's in here. I appreciate you guys. We're about an hour in. We're having a good time. We're probably going to move the conversation to more NBA topics and more NBA teams, but I do want to talk about Amanda's comment real quick. The Warriors only scored 1 point in the last 5 to 6 minutes. The 1 point was from a technical free throw as Monty Williams stepped on the court. Yeah. I kind of mentioned that too. It seemed like when the Warriors hit 92 points, it kind of seemed like the game was over. You know, it was 99-92, and I think Shamet hit that big three. And as I mentioned, the Warriors had like 6 turnovers in the fourth quarter. So I'm glad that she kind of brought that up. But I guess since we're about an hour in, I think honestly I'm out of topics to talk about. I think I'm going to pull up the standings because you know, it's been a while since you've last been on the stream, and you know, it's still early in the season. I'm sure the standings are updated by now, but lots to talk about, man, because obviously the Phoenix Suns move to the number 1 spot in the Western Conference, which I kind of mentioned this earlier. I don't think the Suns care. I really don't. Like, the Suns could be like the 4th seed. They don't care, dude. They just want to make the playoffs. They want to go back to the finals, but we're going to look at the Western Conference first. 18-3, both the Warriors and the Suns. Suns obviously 17 in a row. The Utah Jazz quietly are 14-7.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the Jazz? Oops, I hit my mic.
Oh, you're good. I just feel like the Jazz have been kind of lazy lately. Like, I don't know if you've seen like some of their recent games, but they had 2 games that they should have won, and it was in Utah. Like, they should honestly be 16-5 right now.
I was saying their record should probably be better than what it is.
Well, they had a late lead against both New Orleans and Memphis, and they blew them both.
Right.
And I mean, that's just kind of inexcusable, especially at home. Like, Utah is probably one of the hardest places to go into and play and win. So I think it's just kind of weird. Like, you look at Joe Ingles. He doesn't look like the same player so far this year. I feel like, and I've kind of been a little critical, not like too critical, I guess, but a little critical like over the career of like Mike Conley, but he needs the ball more and Jordan Clarkson needs it less. Like, I feel like it's taking a lot away from them, and it's kind of like ruining their flow offensively. As a result, like, I think last year they were 2nd in 3-point percentage. I think they're only behind the Clippers. Now they're sitting at like 10th. So yeah, that's a pretty big fall. And for the bench, I mean, I think the only guy that's really played well is Rudy Gay, and he's kind of been out because he's been injured a little bit. So maybe if he's, stays healthy, and if Joe Ingles can turn it around and Jordan Clarkson, but a lot of it's kind of, I think, been their bench. I feel like they had like an identity last year, and right now it's like kind of all flustered around. So it's, no one knows what's going to happen.
I don't mean to pick on Quinn Snyder because I'm a coach's guy, you know that. But how long, do they go with Quinn Snyder? Like, if they don't, let's say they make like the semifinals this year and get eliminated, like, how much of a leash do you give him? Like, do you get what I'm saying?
I feel like Quinn Snyder is like a slightly better version of Brad Stevens, in my opinion.
Right?
In the sense where it's like, I just don't know. Like, he has a great team around him. I feel like he might have.
Don't get me wrong. The Jazz are probably going to be a great team, and they might give the Suns trouble too. I don't think we've played them yet, but yeah, you're right.
Right. And I even had, you might not like this, but I actually had them going to the finals before the season started.
Yeah, I think you made a video on that.
Well, I had them playing the Suns in the conference finals, but I thought the Jazz would be there, and I'm still kind of going to hold on to it. I think there's a lot of time, but my point is that, like, I don't know, like, being up and down, like, you can't afford that.
Right.
But my point, though, with him and Brad Stevens is that they both overachieved with less, and it seemed like they're underachieving with more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like you remember like those Celtics teams, they had like Kyrie and Hayward and Tatum and Brown
Mhm.
couldn't do what probably people all thought they'd do. I think everyone thought like, oh, like when LeBron left the East, like boom, Celtics have an easy path to the finals. Well, no, because they got second rounded. And then the next year it wasn't good, and then the next year it wasn't good. And I feel like the Jazz, last year there's really no excuse. I think personally they should have made the finals last year. But there's no excuse why they couldn't at least beat the Clippers when Kawhi went down. So I don't know. I think that, yeah, after a while, you're going to have to start looking at that. I mean, one time it happens, could be a fluke. I mean, they were up 3-1 in the bubble too, but to be fair, like
That was
they
a
weren't
great
healthy.
series, by the way. I remember watching that. That was an amazing series.
Donovan Mitchell was
God.
insane, but
Jamal
that's,
Murray too, man.
yeah, that's kind of the one grasping straw, I think, for the Jazz is I believe in Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, I feel like he has something, like, he has, like, that mentality that you haven't seen since, like, Kobe or Michael Jordan. Like, he hates to lose probably more than anyone else in the NBA from what I've seen personally.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that with that being said, like he's going to try and do everything in his power to win. Sometimes it's not even enough. I mean, we've seen him drop like 40 points. I think last year, like they said, some people tried saying he choked, but I think he dropped like 40 points in the last game and he shot
Yeah.
well. Like you can't put it all on him. Sometimes you got to look at like the whole team, not just a superstar.
I just remember we kind of struggled with the Jazz last year, if I remember correctly. And again, I'm not trying to pick on Quinn Snyder. I'm not saying like tomorrow he's going to get fired or even at the end of the year he's going to get fired. But gotta kind of wonder how much rope they're going to give him. I mean, I could be wrong. They could be full believers in him and he could be there for years. But, and I hate to say this too, it's like, unfortunately, this, no matter what sport, at least in terms of what I know, football, basketball, like coaches get fired first. It just happens. And it sucks. A lot of
I
these
just
coaches sometimes don't deserve to get fired, but they do. Coaches go first, man. It sucks.
I just think that like last year was probably the first time you could say like they lost when they were supposed to win.
The
Like when
Jazz.
and only after really Kawhi went down. Like personally
Yeah.
for me, I still thought like the Clippers were gonna win until Kawhi got hurt. But I mean, you look at like their first 2 years that they made the playoffs with him. Like remember that series they had against the Clippers with Chris Paul's last time and Blake Griffin. Like a lot of people didn't think they were going to win that series.
Right.
And even Rudy Gobert got hurt like the first possession of the series, and they still managed to pull it off. Then they lost, but nobody's going to beat the Kevin Durant Warriors. And then with Donovan Mitchell as a rookie, everyone thought they'd be in the lottery. Somehow they beat the Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Paul George Thunder team. So they've had a lot of good moments. I don't think that they've had like a moment where they've really lost a series or it's like, man, like we should have had that. Except for 2021. And you could argue, I guess, 2020, but at the same time, it's like the Nuggets shouldn't have even been down 3-1 in the first place. Like that was, if they would have lost that, it would have been a big disappointment for them.
Kind of moving the conversation along. Any trouble from the for the Suns from the East? I mean, I'm looking at the standings right now. Obviously, the Nets,
Chicago Bulls.
15-6. Yeah, your Chicago Bulls, who should not be overlooked, Suns fans. I'm not just saying that because my guest and my friend Super Mario Hoops is a huge Bulls fan. I mean, I've even done my research. They are a legit team. They are really good despite their record.
I will
The Miami
say,
Heat are really good.
I will
Go
say
ahead.
for
Go
the
ahead.
Chicago Bulls though, is that last year, and I'm sure I don't know how well you remember it because it's probably just like another game for you, but I don't know if you remember the game we were beating you going into the fourth quarter last year, but we had a lot of games like that. Like we had a game against the Lakers like that, the
Welcome to Phoenix
Clippers,
Suns basketball.
all
I'm
those games,
serious.
and then we couldn't close it out because we just didn't have enough. Like we had Levine and stuff like that, but we
Yeah.
had a lot of injuries and stuff. Like now, we got Levine, we got DeRozan and Vucevic, who just had his best game of the season the other night. So Lonzo's playing well, Kobe
Yep.
White. So I mean, I think personally, like I'm not saying
Vucevic had a
that
big game recently too.
I'm not saying that we're gonna like dominate all these top teams or whatever, but I think that we are definitely like a bigger threat down the stretch of games. Like you saw the Sacramento Kings today, they folded. They're just, I don't think they're good enough. Like
Don't get me
that's just
started on the Kings.
they're just not a good enough team to like close out those games ritually, unless the other team just completely sells. But that's how we were, and I think now we're like on the other side of that, if that kind of makes sense.
Sorry, I'm adjusting my hat and my headphone. My ear hurts. Anyways, no, man. Like I said, Suns fans, do not sleep on this Bulls team. They are really good despite their record. Just going down the standings, man. I mean, Miami Heat, Wizards, and the Bucks are all 13-8. And don't look now, but the Bucks have won 7 in a row. That's gotta mean something.
Well,
and
we even talked about it on my show, remember? Because we were talking about like who they play upcoming.
They've been injured, like
and they had 4 really easy games. But I told you, I said that could even be good for the simple fact where it's like, oh, that's kind of just a way to get their chemistry back together. Then they beat the Nuggets, and I don't know who they've beat since. But who have they beat? They beat the Pacers, and they played the Hornets the next day, and then the Raptors. So like those are going to be probably a few more wins. So
I was going to say that too. Like I've been on their bandwagon for a couple of years. The 6th place, 13-10 Charlotte Hornets, who by the way, they're 7-3 in their last 10. That's not bad. The Hornets are playing pretty good basketball. The New York Knicks, 11-10. The Cavs, 11-10. Sixers, I'm not really, the Sixers have been in and out with Joel Embiid. They'll probably still be really good, but they've obviously had issues. The Hawks, 11-10. Celtics, 11-10. So I don't really know. I would say maybe the Nets and, the Bulls and the Heat, maybe. I feel like there's going to be a lot of teams that aren't necessarily contenders in the East that will cause us trouble, but just playoff East teams like the Wizards are a good example. I don't think the Wizards will be a contender this year, but they'll make the playoffs and they'll be a really good team. And I'm actually kind of cheering for the Wizards, man. They've had a good season, and the Hornets might be really good, and we'll have to see, man. But yeah, we have to go live for that Bulls game, man. That's going to be an insane night. I can't wait for that game.
I got a little story about the Charlotte Hornets.
Go for it.
So my friend and I on October 1st, 2018, we made a bet that's for 10 years. And in 10 years from that day, it's just a $1 bet. And we're going to frame that dollar at the end if the Charlotte Hornets have a championship by then. Because he thinks they will. And I'm like, no, dude.
Wait,
like,
how long did he say?
We made the bet on October 1st, 2018. So if by October 1st, 2028, they don't have a ring,
Ooh.
I'm getting a $1 and I'm framing it.
Ooh, maybe. I mean,
it won't happen. You got to think, though. You got to think. There's only 7 more.
I'm on their bandwagon. I have to defend them.
There's only 7 more teams that are going to win a title, though. Like, they're not winning it this year. They won't win it next year. So it's like they got 5 years then. It's like,
do the Suns win their first championship by 2028?
By 2028?
Maybe.
As long as they're not playing the Chicago Bulls in the finals. Then
so basically what you're saying is Suns and Bulls 2022 NBA Finals. You heard it here first on Suns Geek.
And it's going to be the same outcome as 1993, unfortunately.
And John Paxson's going to come out of retirement and hit a buzzer beater at the Game 6.
Jordan's going to average 41. It's going to be great.
Guys, if you have any questions or topics you want us to cover, we've been live for about an hour and 14 minutes, almost an hour and 15 minutes. So go ahead, get your comments or questions in. Do you have anything you want to talk about, man? I mean, we kind of went through the standings, and we talked about this game for a long time, which I was glad about. So if I missed any of your comments, I apologize, or any of your questions, just go ahead, resubmit them. But yeah, give us questions, guys. What were you thinking though?
I was thinking of this comment right here that you just pulled up.
Yeah,
so,
the Bulls one.
What Kinneret Weiss says, Bulls probably better than they've been since 1998 and can compete for sure. Not sure if finals, but wouldn't be surprised if they get to the Eastern Conference semifinals or even conference finals. Personally, for me, I think we definitely can get to the Eastern Conference Finals depending on the road. Like that's all that mattered. You saw a team like the Atlanta Hawks make it last year. Nobody's talking about the Atlanta Hawks anymore because I think, it was kind of lucky. I mean, I'm not saying even that we can't beat some of these teams like the Nets and the Heat and the Bucks because we beat some of them and we played close with some of them. But, I think that we definitely have a chance to get there. Now, your comment about best team since 1998, don't know about that.
Yeah, the Bulls had like a good stretch in the 2010s. They were pretty good.
I'm going to defend my guy, D Rose here. But personally for me, like I know everyone talks about like the 2011 Bulls, but I think the 2012 Bulls were better. Because I think we were top 5, the only team in top 5 in offensive and defensive rating that year. We were up there for 3-point shooting. Rose had missed several games that year, and we were still great without him and even better with him. And that's the year that stings the most because I really think, that's when he tore the ACL.
Yeah.
I thought we would have won it all that year. Like, that was the year. But, if outside of, like, maybe those few years there, you could argue the 2015 year with Rose, Butler, and Pau Gasol. But, yeah, we haven't had too many great seasons since, like, the turn of the millennium. So it's always good to see the Bulls playing well.
I don't mean to change subject, but Double G's asked this question earlier. Any idea how long Booker will be out for? It's honestly like an hour-to-hour basis by now. We might hear something tomorrow morning, maybe.
I thought you were saying he'd be out for an hour.
He'll be out for an hour. Yeah, he was out for an hour because he went out in the second quarter and then was on the bench cheering for the team like later in the third quarter. But yeah, I feel like literally it's going to take hours and then we'll probably hear something. I doubt he plays in the Pistons game.
Oh, he won't.
But,
I'm calling right now. Guaranteeing.
But Devin Booker, man, that guy, he honestly loves to play. He hates being hurt. And he has that literally, the Mamba mentality, that killer mentality, and he hates being hurt. So I might be, maybe it's recency bias. Maybe I'm like, oh, he was on the bench and he looked really good. But I'm taking that as a good thing. Like, I don't know, man, but hopefully that answers this question. David Ray says, good stream. Hope to see you Thursday and Friday. Yeah, hopefully I can go live for the next Suns Warriors game. Can you review the playoff standings if the NBA ended today? Ooh, we kind of did this sort of
like a playoff matchup. Is that what?
Yeah, like if the NBA ended today, I don't think I'll go over all of them, but the Suns and Lakers would play. It'd be 1 versus 8.
Suns and 4.
Oh God, fucking Lakers. Brooklyn Nets would play the Cavs. That would be awesome. Your Bulls would play the Knicks. That'd be fun. Ooh, that'd be like a 90s showdown again.
Ooh, I don't know how I'd feel about that. That's my favorite team against my favorite player.
Right?
Man.
Bulls in 6?
Now, naturally.
Remember, we're talking if the playoffs started today.
Now, naturally, like, okay, listen, I love D Rose. He's my favorite player. But I can't go against my team.
The Knicks aren't that good this year either.
Yeah, and that'd be a bandwagon move. So I'd have to root for my Bulls. But I think the Bulls would win anyways. I just think they're a better team.
Yeah. They might drop a game or two, but I think they'd win that series, especially if that was the first round. That would be insane.
That would, geez, I don't even know how do you think the fans would boo like guys like Rose and Taj Gibson and Thibodeau?
No. From what I know as just an NBA fan in general and the love that, all the years they spent there and the love, I don't think so. But you might know more than me. I don't know.
I don't. The only thing I would say is that, like, you always see it in the regular season because it's like, yeah, it's just a game. Like, we lose this, there's tomorrow and stuff. But it's like playoffs. Someone's going home. So I don't know if they'd be like kind of booing them and stuff like that.
Yeah. Iverson Vlog says, if I'm the Suns, I'm sitting Booker Thursday and Friday. You're going to sit him for the Warriors game too? Maybe he's right about that, but maybe for
Depends
the
how bad it
Pistons.
is.
Yeah, again, I don't even know if I really want to talk about that much because it's like we don't know anything. Like tomorrow we could be having a completely different conversation. So, Suns Geek, why is this team feeling better than last year? We have been closing out games last year mostly in the fourth quarter team. Ayton has been playing best, Bridges to all of them. Um
I feel like last year you guys got off to like, well, I mean, you guys were good kind of throughout, but I feel like it took you longer before you hit that part in the middle, like in the middle of
yeah.
the year. Like, cause I remember personally like looking at the standings and I saw like the Jazz start climbing and everyone's talking about, they're the best team in the NBA now.
Yep.
And then after that, like was when the Suns started to make their push.
Yeah. And
So
last year every team dealt with this, but there was like COVID and like all these injuries, and Chris Paul and Devin Booker were still trying to figure out how to play with each other. But and again, I was pretty critical of our 1-3 start. Don't forget, Suns fans, we started off 1-3, and it was an ugly 1-3. I was pissed.
I was
But
gonna sorry. I
no,
was just gonna
I
bring
kind
up
of ended
like
my thought there. Just basically, I was pissed, and then all of a sudden we went on this winning streak, and I was not pissed. So I don't know.
I was just gonna bring up like I was looking at that actually. Like all the Suns games so far this year, they are 10-1 in games that are decided by single digits. The only loss was the shot Harrison Barnes hit.
Yeah.
So and I think that might have been the first one too. So I think they've won 10 straight games where it's a single digit
Yep.
score. That's pretty impressive.
Let's see here. Someone asked me a question. Suns Geek, do you feel confident? I can't read that word. Who? In being our big man in the finals game, I want Drummond.
You don't want Drummond. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You don't
Excuse me,
want.
I had to burp.
You don't want Drummond.
I think Drummond's had a couple decent performances for the Sixers, but I'll just say this: I feel like that time has passed because there was a point where the Suns could have got him. They didn't. They probably could have used him, and I think that ship has sailed.
I just don't
That's
think
my.
Drummond.
I do like Andre Drummond, but I don't think he's. We got JaVale McGee, man. We don't need Andre Drummond.
I mean, I've seen Drummond play a lot, probably more than I should have over the past few years. Because, I mean, not only am I a Rose fan and saw him like when he was with the Pistons a lot, but also I'm a Brandon Jennings fan and I watched him a lot back then. So I've personally seen a lot of Andre Drummond, and he's just not a high IQ guy. He doesn't really have like a post game. He's an inconsistent defender. The only thing that he really adds is rebounding. So I guess maybe tonight he would have worked because you guys got killed on the rebounds. But I just think in general, Laker fans even hated him last year. So I don't know. I just think that he's kind of not the guy that you want to rely on in any like important role.
Here we go. I think what he meant to say was, do you feel confident in JaVale McGee? The rest of his comment was as our big man in a finals game. I'll just say kind of the cliche answer, yes, because the guy has 3 rings. So yeah.
I personally would trust him more too. I just think that he can do more. I mean, he's a better defender inside. I think he actually has a better post-up game. And he moves kind of better off the ball as well. He's a little more athletic, so
especially on the pick and roll game and going up for alley oops, and he quietly gets us points kind of when we need it. And a comment here saying we are playing well and staying in our game, which I do agree with, but we could definitely play better. We're finding ways to close out games, which we've gotten better at. We definitely have that. Suns would have been in the playoffs in the bubble season if Ayton didn't miss all those games.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with that at all, but like, I don't know because, Ayton a little inconsistent here and there, but yeah, I mean, 25 games, man, with that whole drug, whatever scandal. Yeah, maybe. I mean, we did win 35 games that season, which I think got us into the bubble.
So well, what I will say about that season in particular is that I know a lot of people were like, oh, the Suns went 8-0, like, and they didn't make the playoffs. It's a crime. But it's like at the end of the day, like it's still the same season, like look
Yeah.
back at all the games that you didn't win, and you guys elected to come to the bubble. You weren't like Bradley Beal, and he kind of just sat out, I think, and the Wizards went like 0-8. They were like
I
Suns
think
on
we beat
opposite day.
them actually in the bubble, if I
They
remember correctly.
they were like the exact opposite, but I think,
Excuse me.
yeah, that probably played a big part because I remember too, like the Suns, they were hanging around near the top, but then they started sliding. I think, what was it, like early January, and
Yeah, there was a stretch where we lost a lot of games.
he
Ugh.
was still kind of like out for a
That's when
lot
we
of
had
it.
Rubio too and Kelly Oubre and all that, man.
Rubio was really good to start the year. I mean, look at Rubio now; he's still playing good with Cleveland.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, I guess overall I do agree. Like maybe we would have made the playoffs, but the whole like, oh, that's a asterisk or whatever season. I don't know if I wanted to make the playoffs that year, especially with the circumstances and all that. But
I think
it kind of did
also,
feel like making the playoffs. It literally felt like a playoff environment. Like 8-0. It felt like March Madness and all that. It was great.
I think also like part of it though is that the fact that they were so low in the standings like before the
Yeah.
bubble that they like I know one reason, like, and I even heard like Booker say this, like one reason why they did so well is because like they felt neglected, like coming in there, like, oh,
Facts.
like,
That is 110% facts.
because I remember like when they first said what teams were coming, they're like, why are you inviting the Suns? Like they're
Dude,
horrible.
I had one of the biggest Suns fans I've ever met say that to me. Why are the Suns going to the? I'm like, dude.
So I mean, like, yeah, and I feel like that's probably why they ended up playing so well there. Like maybe if they were closer to the 8 or 9 seed, like with Portland or Memphis or something, then maybe they don't go 8-0. Like who knows? Maybe they're not
Yeah.
quite as inspired. So yeah, maybe that played a part in it.
JaVale has a lot of Shackton moments, but then they say, why has no one called out JaVale has a Wilt Chamberlain hook shot more and more in recent games? First off, why don't more big men go for the hook shot? And I'm serious. Like, you're like 7 foot, you're 6'11", maybe even 7'1", and you don't use the hook shot. No clue why they don't do that.
Robin Lopez still does.
Right. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't really know if I have anything else I want to talk about. I feel like we kind of covered a lot. I mean, I could go on a Lakers rant all day. I guess the thing I'll say about the Lakers is I was listening to this call-in radio show. I think it was Worldwide Rob or something. He's really famous on Twitter. But he has like his own call-in radio show. And normally I don't give props to the Los Angeles Lakers fans, but they were spitting facts. I literally listened to like 3 or 4 Lakers fans that were like, we're not good at this. We're not good at that. Blah, blah, blah. Anthony Davis is not a top 10 player. And this is Lakers fans, by the way. And I remember one quote stood out to me. One Lakers fan said, we're not good at anything. We're just a bunch of names. So,
Yeah,
I get it.
totally agree.
LeBron was injured and now he's out with, potentially COVID and all that, whatever. But what have you seen from the Lakers? Do you want to rant about them? Because they're not good, man. Let's be real. Like, yeah, they have LeBron, they have Westbrook, they have AD. They're not good, man.
I think a lot of them just at this point don't care. If you're asking me, like they got their Mickey Mouse ring and then they moved on. I mean, it is true.
They got their Mickey Mouse ring.
They did a Disney ring, and like, congrats. But
They
no,
lost a great defensive player in Alex Caruso. Let's be real. Who's on your Bulls?
Every guy they lost. Look at KCP, look at Kuzma, look at Harrell. What's crazy, and it's still crazy to me, is we're a fourth of the way through the season, and Montrezl Harrell is higher on the MVP ladder than the whole big three for the Lakers.
And that's what's so great about the Washington Wizards' great start. That's like 3 or 4 Lakers you traded to the Wizards, and now they're good. But sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. And I just hate how, like, it just doesn't seem like they care anymore. Like,
people are like, don't talk about their retirement home. F the Lakers.
LeBron doesn't seem like to me that he's – well, first of all, he just doesn't look the same. I think he's taken a step back. I don't think he's quite the same player he even was 2 years ago. let alone 2018, because I really thought, like, even 2 years ago, like, Kawhi was the best player in the league. That's personally what I thought. So, I don't know. I just think that he isn't quite able to do quite as much anymore. And that might be a shock to some people, but I don't know. And then AD doesn't look like he cares at all. They got all those old Lakers back, like Dwight and Rondo. I can tell you right now, Rondo does not care about that team. He got 2 rings. You know, he probably didn't even care if he got one really with the Lakers at first. Do you remember that first season he was there? And how he was like,
Yeah.
he had antics like he was getting stupid technical fouls like he always does. And then he was like sitting with fans, like away from the team that one time. So, um, you know, I think a lot of that is just like they didn't really care. You know, and Dwight, like he got his ring. He doesn't care now. It really, the only person I think that cares, and it's probably the reason why he's playing so well, is Carmelo Anthony for most of the year.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
know, I've
Mhm.
said so. I've said now I don't know if it is quite the same now, but for a good chunk of the year so far, I said Carmelo Anthony's probably been the best Laker this year. You know, LeBron, he's always in and out. AD is too inconsistent, and looks like he's kind of taking a step back defensively. And then Westbrook, you can never rely on him being efficient. Um, and I know he's played a little better recently, but yeah, and Sports Wikipedia even said their defense is trash.
Yeah.
They are trash. They're just a
Mhm.
bunch of old dudes. They don't move, and their 3-point shooting is not quite what people thought it was going to be. It's a little better, but at the same time, they got a lot of streaky shooters. They got a lot of Landry Shamits
Yeah.
on
And
there.
again, like I'm not saying they're the worst team in the NBA. Like again, if the playoffs started, we would play them as the 8th seed, but would I be concerned? Hell no. Like I would be super confident in beating them, but
I mean, I would probably have, I don't even know. Like last year, like yeah, it would have made sense to be concerned. They're the
I
defending
was kind
champions.
of concerned last year, I'm not going to lie.
And
Like I
especially because, like, you know, the Suns, like, they hadn't been there in so
Yeah,
long. But
exactly.
this year, like,
Mhm.
the Suns are better than them, the Jazz are better than them, the Warriors are better,
Yep.
uh, Mavericks, the
Mhm.
Clippers, I don't know how you'll feel
Maybe
about
with
this.
Paul George are better than them, maybe.
They might be, but if they get Kawhi back, I think they're the best team in the West.
Mm,
So, I don't know, like, there's too much out there for them to even like, and that's just one half of it. You know, you still gotta play either the Nets. Who knows? Like, if Kyrie
yeah.
Irving comes back, like, there's no way in the Bucks too, the
I'm glad
Bulls.
you brought that up because if I remember correctly, the Lakers actually have a hard schedule coming up. And I think one thing Lakers fans were getting at was that they were playing an easy part of their schedule. And don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, they're 12 and 11, but it feels like their record should just be a lot worse. Like I'm going to go look at their schedule. We're going to go on this Lakers rant right here because and again, I never count out LeBron James. But LeBron James is not the Los Angeles Lakers. And you are right. Carmelo Anthony, dude, that guy, I'm so glad that Portland resurrected his career because he first off
Mhm.
deserved that. It was a travesty that he was out of the league. I've always been a fan of him, and I'm so glad that he's having a good season. And
I wish you would have
Ron,
came to my Bulls in 2014.
Rondo, I feel like with maybe the Rajon Rondo thing, maybe it's ego. I don't. That's not the Celtics Rondo. You know what I mean? So
I
we're gonna
mean,
look. We're gonna look at the. I'm sorry to cut you off, but the Lakers have the Clippers on the 3rd, Celtics, Grizzlies. I'm just gonna name some of the kind of harder ones. Mavericks, Bulls on the 19th, Chicago Bulls. They face the Suns on the 21st, the Nets on Christmas Day. Like it gets harder from here. So
and I wouldn't even discount the Blazers who have ritually always owned them in the regular season and
yeah, they
everything.
play the Blazers the
I mean,
31st.
yeah, so they
New
played
Year's
them.
Day, New Year's night or whatever.
Nets, Suns, Bulls,
Yeah.
Mavericks, Timberwolves. I mean, Timberwolves beat them by like 20 earlier this year.
Timberwolves have been playing good basketball too, believe it or
Hmm.
not.
And then Celtics and Clippers, because both those 2 games, like LeBron's not playing either. And then like Celtics already beat them bad, and then Clippers, you're playing the King of LA, Paul George. So
Um, as I just
Aiden
mentioned,
Wells.
I had to go look at the standings. I wasn't joking about the Timberwolves. They are 11 and 10, and they've won 7 out of their last 3. And D'Lo and Edwards and Cat and just that team, they seem to be buying in, and maybe they'll be a 7th, 8th seed. And shout out to the Timberwolves, man. I'd rather talk about the Timberwolves than the Lakers because not much to talk about the Lakers. And again, maybe the Lakers can pick it back up, but now with LeBron being possibly out for a while.
I mean, I don't know. I guess to be fair, they got their best win of the season tonight without him. So
yeah,
against the team they just lost to with him. But I don't know. Like they're not a good team.
And you know what? I hope they aren't a good team throughout most of the season, and I hope we play them in the playoffs, and I hope we beat them. And
if they get to the playoffs,
I don't know what their future looks like, and I don't know if you know. Like, I'm pretty sure you know this. I'm a Russell Westbrook defender, but like Westbrook can't do it all, and obviously Anthony Davis hasn't been he's been inconsistent, and he's not the top 10 player we all thought he once was. I'm not saying he's like a trash player or anything, but he hasn't been that good. And LeBron can't do everything, and Melo can't do it all. So it's like,
I mean,
again,
I'm kind
I
of
just love how that Lakers fan summed it up. A bunch of names, and we're not good at anything. I loved it. Like when he said that, I was like, hell yeah.
I'm kind of just like Romp, and when I say like how Westbrook is probably going to be one of the biggest reasons they won't succeed in the playoffs. Like there's no denying that he's a Hall of Famer. At the end of the day, he's an MVP.
He is talented,
like but at the same time, like it just doesn't work in the playoffs. I don't think. I mean, and even the same thing with like James Harden, and look at like how he's been as of late. And both those guys, when they were with Kevin Durant in OKC, and only one of them has come away with a championship. Now, you could very well sit here and say their team was OP, but didn't everyone say the Lakers were OP before the season started? We got 2 MVPs, like a big 3.
ESPN kisses their ass, and it's all about the Lakers on there.
So you can't really say that there. I mean, at the end of the day, he's at least got it done.
I guess last question, because I'm kind of running out of gas here. How many teams will end up with 60 wins? Ooh, that's tough. Because I can't remember off the top of my head how many. Yeah, like I don't remember how many teams won 60 games last year. If this were like how many teams would win 50 or more, I'd probably say 1, but I don't know who that team is.
Well, nobody's won 60 games since like 3 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't remember how many teams have won 60 games.
A lot of that is because shortened season and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think there would be one team, and you're gonna like my answer, the Phoenix Suns.
It's fair.
I think my Bulls will win at least 50. I think Nets will be in the 50s. Warriors, all those teams.
Maybe the Bucks. Maybe
the Bucks will too. So there'll be a lot of 50-win teams, but I think there'll be one in the 60s, and it should be the Phoenix Suns.
Before we end the stream, do you have any hot takes? I'm putting you on the spot here. Any hot takes or any crazy thoughts you're thinking of? It can be about anything.
Well, I guess I did already give the one about Landry Shamet. I guess that kind of caught you off guard.
It did. I'm glad we actually talked about that. I'm glad.
But I guess my hot take would be, I mean, I don't know if this probably won't seem like a hot take right now because of how tonight went, but I don't think Steph Curry should be getting nearly as much MVP praise.
Ooh, okay.
For the simple fact that, see, when you look at that, I feel like for Coach of the Year right now, I know Billy Donovan's going to get a lot of hype for my Bulls and stuff.
As he should. He should.
Yeah, but at the same time, look at how the Warriors are playing. It's not just one guy. It's the whole team. The ball movement, the defense, he's running 1-2-2 zones and stuff like that. How many teams are doing that? Not a lot.
Right.
So, Steve Kerr's up there for Coach of the Year consideration. Draymond, I know we said he had a not so great a night defensively today.
He's been great, though. He really has been.
He's probably the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. And then Jordan Poole as well for Most Improved Player. I just feel like of all of those narratives, I feel like the Curry MVP narrative is the weakest for the simple fact that it's not like he's having an outlandish season by his own individual standards. Now, I mean, they're not the best team in the league right now, and they're really not that far ahead of the Nets. And personally for me, it's still really early. That I think when Nikola Jokic starts getting more games under himself, he truly has been the most valuable player this year. If you take by the true MVP definition. So, and yeah, Sports Wikipedia even said there's times Curry struggles and the Warriors still win. Yeah, and I think there's only been one instance this year. I don't know actually what Durant ended up with tonight. This might have been their first win when he struggled, but outside of tonight, there was only one other game where he did struggle really this year against the Warriors, and it was their biggest L of the season. So
Right.
I don't know. I just think, you could talk about the Nuggets. They lost 6 straight after Jokic's injury, and all that stuff.
I'm pretty sure Billy Donovan is a coach in the NBA, and I do feel like he deserves a lot of credit.
Well, I will. Okay, I'll give it one more hot take. He's an overrated coach already.
I kind of overhype him as a coach, to be honest, especially before he went to the
make adjustments. I just hate how sometimes he wants to play completely small and throw Derrick Jones Jr. at the 5. We try to play small ball with guys that can't shoot consistently out there. That's what I hate the most. And he's just kind of bad at making adjustments, I feel like. It's more of a product of we just have better players and now we're a better team. More than it is we got an improved coach, an improved system. But yeah.
I don't really know if this is a hot take, but the Phoenix Suns will have more than one NBA All-Star this season. Because technically they had 2 last year, but Booker didn't play. I think he had an injury or whatever, but you gotta maybe think maybe Deandre Ayton, maybe Mikal Bridges. I'm just saying.
I don't know if that's a hot take. I'll say
I'm so bad at hot takes.
This might be one, but I'll say my Bulls will.
Yeah, absolutely. They got to have it. Can't just be Zach LaVine. Yeah, it's got to be one of them.
Which is kind of, I guess, a hot take because he hasn't made it since his Toronto days.
Yeah.
Even though I think he should have made it his first year instead of Aldridge for the Spurs, but that's another topic.
Yeah, man. Any final thoughts to end this stream? I mean, first off, how was your Thanksgiving and what's been going on with you, man? You got anything going on in the channel? I mean, you had me on a couple weeks ago. That was a great show. We had a great trivia segment and we talked for an hour about all things NBA. So anything going on with you? How was your Thanksgiving, man?
I guess first my Thanksgiving was pretty good. Like I said on your last stream, got to hang out with the fam, the uncles, aunts, the cousins, and stuff like that. So that was pretty good. And then this past Saturday, I helped out my grandma and stuff like that, help her decorate,
awesome.
Stuff like that, and then took her out to eat. So that was pretty good. And in terms of my channel, I guess I'll give you guys the scoop for my next episode. I'm having the one and only Romp 2.0 as the guest. So I know
I can't wait for that.
A lot of you guys are gonna like that. I'm excited to see how he does in the trivia.
If you guys have been following my channel for the last year or even longer, you know who Romp 2.0 is. So I can't wait for that.
So that's gonna be hype. And then in terms of some other videos, I've been making some ideas. Right now, I'm kind of in the worst time of the year for me because finals are coming around and I got a ton of projects right now. So I'm kind of just sticking to my one a week show for the time being. Once I'm done with the semester, gonna have more videos, not just my show every week. So it's gonna be good.
Yeah, man. Well, you already know you are invited on my channel anytime, man. And I forgot to do it earlier, but I will link your channel down below in the description. I'm pretty sure people already know who you are by now. And shout out to Sports Wikipedia, who says, I hope both of your guys' channels grow. Speaking of that, you're already past 5,000 subscribers, which congratulations. I am almost at 5,000, man, and I'm not gonna lie. It feels pretty good. I mean,
I saw your thing today. You're 100 away or something.
Yeah, so. I kind of had to plug that. I was like, man, I'm almost 100 away from 5,000, and that feels like a pretty good milestone, man. I mean, we've obviously both had our YouTube journeys, but I remember when I had 100 and just making videos about the Suns or talking about whatever, and it's been pretty crazy. So
So that means
shout
that
out to you, man.
everyone that's in here that hasn't already, you got to subscribe to him right now.
Yeah, so go ahead, subscribe to me. Just Hulk smash that like button, subscribe. Go check out Super Mario Hoops. Follow him on Twitter and follow me on Twitter. And
I always troll the Lakers and the Warriors as well. So
yes,
if you like that, then you might as well pop a follow on there as well.
Yes, and yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna kind of cut this. I don't want to say short because we've been live for like almost 2 hours, but I'm gonna cut it short. But yeah, Hulk smash the like button, you guys. Just absolutely destroy it, and subscribe to both of us. And
like my thing I did to Otto Porter earlier, where I'm like, God, wish he would have played better for us and stuff.
And you know what, man? Like, even though we've been live for an hour and 45 minutes, like I still can't process the fact that the Suns have won 17 in a row. It's bizarre, man. And I'm just so excited. And I forgot to play this earlier, but I wanted to play this. I hope I don't get like a copyright claim for this. So my guy Evan, he's been on this channel once before. Great Twitter follow, by the way. He made this video on an app, and I have to play it to end the stream. If you guys are on TikTok or something like that, you've probably seen this, but here we go.
Fuck your life! Bing bong! If you see these dogs in your front yard, just know upstairs I'm going hard. Bing bong! What do you want to tell Joe Biden right now?
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner.
Hey, yo! Ariana Grande, what's up, mama? I'll come to Coney Island, take a spin on the cyclone. I miss you.
I meant to play that earlier, but I like totally forgot. My guy Evan made that. He's a great Twitter follow, and I'm sorry, I had to end the stream like that. That was great. I feel like if I would have started the stream with that, I probably would have lost a lot of subscribers, but that was great. I love
at least
that.
The Knicks fans.
I love the whole bing bong. That's fucking hilarious. Like, I'm not a Knicks fan, but I like saying bing bong now because that shit's hilarious.
Well, I think they play the Bulls next, so you know what I'm going to be saying on Twitter very soon.
Right. All right, so we're going to end the stream, you guys. Thank you to everybody who stuck around. I mean, we've had like a solid 25, 30 people in here for a while, and just the fact that you guys are watching, you guys are all incredible. God bless you guys. Happy holidays. It's almost Christmas. I'm excited. 17 games in a row for your Phoenix Suns.
And it's actually December now, too.
Yeah, it's officially December. And Super Mario Hoops will be joining me soon on a future live stream. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to Hulk smash the like button, and please subscribe for everything Phoenix Suns. If it has to deal with the Phoenix Suns, I'm going to make a video about it, and I'll see you guys next time.